because somebody in our chain of command tells us otherwise. It's not how.
A Port of Seattle police officer is standing his ground, and it could cost him his job. He refuses to take down the video he posted, urging other officers to ignore the enforcement of stay-at-home restrictions.
To be clear, no one in Washington has been arrested or cited for not obeying stay-at-home restrictions. Today, that officer talked exclusively to KOMO's Jonathan Cho, who has tonight's Operation Crime and Justice report.
I'm just simply asking people to look inside of themselves and do what they're comfortable with.
Port of Seattle police officer Craig Anderson says he has no regrets. In fact, he's doubling down on the message.
I don't want to see the citizens get pushed to a point where they feel like we have to defend our constitutional rights against the government.
After weeks of watching police officers across the nation arrest or fine people for violating stay-at-home orders, Anderson says he's had enough.
And even though I wasn't personally being asked to do that stuff was starting to bother me. I'm speaking to my peers.
Sitting inside his patrol car, he took to Instagram last week and posted this nearly 9-minute video.
I'm seeing people arrested or cited for going to church. I don't know what crime people are committing by doing nails in their own house.
It touched a nerve and went viral.
We need to start looking at ourselves as officers and thinking, is what I'm doing right?
Even though enforcement hasn't really happened in Washington, Anderson says if it does, he's urging his fellow officers to refuse enforcement of stay-at-home orders. And that got the attention of his chief.
I don't have a bad thing to say about the Port of Seattle.
No one with the agency would answer our questions or give us more details, but sends us a statement saying, the officer is currently on paid administrative leave pending investigation. The port does not comment on pending personnel matters. Anderson says he's being accused of insubordination because he's refusing to take down the video.
Do you believe Governor Inslee is doing anything right to keep people safe in Washington state?
No, I'm not getting, like I said before, I'm just gonna let my message speak for itself.
While Anderson has his critics, he says surprisingly, most of his supporters are fellow officers.
I've been getting contacted by police officers all over the country saying thank you.
For now, he's focusing on other ventures like his jiu-jitsu academy and considering a career with other law enforcement agencies, just in case.
Some of them are recruiting, like, hey, my chief or my sheriff says you have a job here, so we'll see how it all shakes out.
Restaurants will be allowed to reopen under phase 2 of the governor's plan, which could come as soon as June 1st. The businesses will have to meet 13 criteria, though, which include only allowing guests to fill half a restaurant at a time.
KOMO's Suzanne Fauna's reaction from restaurant owners and a closer look at what the changes might cost.
I'm missing my Korean barbecue right now. That's my biggest favorite one, right?
Good evening, everyone. How we doing? It's good to see everybody. All right, we got up in here. We got Copper. Copper says, hello all. Not gonna lie, this channel has become my safe place. That's because we don't deal in bullshit here in the Glare. My friend Copper, you are very much appreciated. No, we do not deal in that bullshit up in here. That I can promise you. Booze Love, how we doing? Tawanda, wow, I haven't seen you in forever. How's it going, girl? It's so good to see you. No, I'm not in Washington. I'm in Tennessee. And yeah, I have heard about your governor there in Washington. I've heard. Macy Moore, how's it going? That girl. Cynthia, what's going on? Wow, Copper's got the nicest things to say tonight. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Yeah, you guys are just as important, if not more, to me as I am to you. So I am very, very, very grateful to have you here in my chat. So I wasn't even going to go live tonight, guys. I wasn't even going to go live tonight. As a matter of fact, I had a hell of a day today. Not a bad day, just tough. You know what I'm saying? You ever have one of those days where it's just like, it's kind of like how I was explaining to this dude. It's like, all right, best way I could put it is so today, now, as you guys know, I work at a fitness club, and right now the county has an ordinance. Good old Kane, Glenn Jacobs, also known as the Big Red Machine in the WWE as Kane. He is the mayor of the county that I live in Tennessee, and he is and he's a good mayor. I like him, and I'm a fan, you know, of the WWE too. So it's kind of cool. It's kind of cool to see the Big Red Machine kind of be making solid, sensible decisions right now during this pandemic. So I'm really enjoying how everybody seems to be working together. It's nice to not only witness that, but to be part of it, and to do my part. And so speaking of which, Cinnamon hot, how we doing? But speaking of which, tonight it was challenging because right now what we have going on at my job, the county regulations dictate that you must wear a mask. Gyms are open, but you must wear a mask at all times while you're in the building. How's it going? Hope Addis, Angelina ATF, and Lufa. What's up, girl? You got to wear a mask, and you got to answer a bunch of questions, and you know, we're on top of that, and we got to take your temperature, and you know, there's a lot of stuff we just got to deal with, and to me it's a small price to pay. To me it's a small price. Sorry, I got to adjust everything here. It's a small price to pay for getting to be able to to get back into my regular lifestyle, the lifestyle that I've chosen for personal self-improvement. And so it's nice to, you know, there's a lot of people out of work, so I'm really grateful that I still have a job. And so wearing masks and doing all this stuff, to me it's uncomfortable, Angelina ATF. I realize that it is uncomfortable. It's not a picnic, but to me, it's considering when you think about all the other businesses that are going under and all the people that are out of work right now, it's a small price to pay. For me, I don't mind. You know, I mean, I'll wear a Bison Lodge hat like in the Flintstones if I have to. You know, I don't mind. Down the rabbit hole, you're not too late. I just started. You haven't missed anything really, just the intro video that was kind of explaining what I'm going to be talking about here tonight, which I'm actually really excited to be talking about because I love certain things, man. I see something and I get all inspired and I get all hyped because they make me feel real good about being an American and about being a human being and about being a neighbor. And it gets me hyped. What's up, wildlife? So having said all that, going back to what I was talking about, and you know, my day was just challenging, man. So what happened was there was a scheduling issue, and it turned out where I ended up having to be the only one working from 9 p.m. moving forward till midnight. So from 9 to midnight, it was tough. So I had to man the front desk, which means I'm making smoothies, I'm changing people's billing, I'm doing all kinds of stuff, I'm checking memberships, I'm scanning people in, but I also got to man the front door and make sure that nobody gets through there without answering those questions, without having a face mask on, and without getting their temperature taken. So it was a little challenging, and it was really funny because normally, because it's so slow right now, the pools are closed in the gym and the child care is closed. So it's normally very slow, and it seemed very easy to to handle both. I thought, you know what, I got this. You know, I texted my boss and I was like, listen, man, there's a problem. I'm the only one here. And then, you know, he was just like, do the best you can. I was like, yeah, I got this. This is fine. This is not a big deal. And then sure enough, you know, everybody wanted something. I got a guy hasn't been in since the quarantine took place in the first place. And he brings, you know, his 4 kids in and nobody's got a mask. I got to send him out. He goes out, he gets a mask, whatever, brings back. One of the kids doesn't have a mask still. I'm like, no, you don't understand. Every single human being that walks through that front door has to have a mask on. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. We're not about to get fined. There was another club that was not too far away that got fined because people were just really not taking this seriously. And so so having to deal with this guy and his kids wanting stuff from the front counter and having to ring them up and still hold on a second while I go, and I had to count down the till and I had to do, you know, so I gotta be, you know, 2 places at once doing 10 things. And it was very difficult. And this one guy, you know, and it's funny, the way I explained it to him was just like, you know, that's life. Shit happens, right? The only thing that matters, the only thing that changes in life, I mean, I've been on this planet for 44 years. The only thing that actually changes is how I deal with these things. I mean, isn't that the truth, guys? Really, at the end of the day, right? So, you know, I mean, shit's gonna happen. It's been happening my whole life. It's gonna keep happening. The only thing that I have control over is how I handle it, right? So that made it a little easier, right? Just putting that, giving myself that perspective, just made it a breeze, right? But so for those of you who have been following my channel for a while, I did one live stream once about a guy that was a really cool guy, and he is a cool guy. He really is. I still stand by that very, very much. And this man, if you remember, I had this really cool conversation, this very cool exchange with him. And long story short, he was basically homeless. He worked this full-time construction job. I guess it's like laying down marble or tile, which is a skill, right? But hard work nevertheless. And he had this full-time job, but he got a membership with us so that he could use the shower because he was building his own cabin. What's up, Caleb? Hey, Soul. He was building his own cabin, and he rode a bicycle to the edge of the county, which is not close. And from his job site to a lumber yard to pick up lumber on a trailer behind his bicycle. And he added a motor to it so that he could go uphill and whatnot. This is a guy that has all my respect because, you know, you look at him and the average person will look at him and think, okay, this guy's a bum. No, this guy's the opposite of a bum. This is a guy who wants nothing from nobody, literally wants nothing from nobody. But what he wants for that is to simply have, wow, Tawanda, thank you so much. I appreciate that. What this guy wanted was just to not have to answer to anyone in exchange for wanting nothing from no one. I don't want to have to answer to nobody, not even a landlord. And to me, I think you got to respect that. You got to respect that. And I would have deep conversations with this guy just about perspective on life, you know, and this is a good guy. But he recently comes in and he tells me that, you know, and he did his homework. He checked the zoning and everything for this area, right? He checked the zoning and he wasn't on anyone's property, according to the city and according to the county records. He wasn't on anyone's property. But some asshole who owns an apartment complex has a problem with this guy's cabin and says, you're on my property and you got to take it down. You got to tear it down. And he lost that fight. He lost that fight. And he lost that fight because this guy had in his apartment complex, living in his apartment complex, were 3 police officers. And these police officers would go and give him a hard time, and not in a mean way. You know, they were nice to him, but nevertheless, they're giving him a hard time, to the point where the guy actually kind of bought him out. He gave him a really crappy little amount of money and said, you can either take this or we're just going to boot you out and you're going to get nothing. And it's just going to cost me more money to do it, but I'm going to do it. And so he ends up having to take down his cabin, man. And now he's just kind of camping out wherever he can camp out. And I don't know if it's a coincidence. Hey, Marissa Baruman. Am I saying that right? I hope I'm saying that right. It is unjust, Soul. It's absolutely unjust because the county didn't have a problem with him being there. He was on county property and the county said, you're not bothering anybody? Cool. And this guy, the next day, I get a group me message from my supervisor. Everybody gets one of these, and they say, and it says, you know, coming from, hey, German lady, coming from corporate, this guy cannot, until he updates his billing, because our policy is that you have to have a card, a Visa or MasterCard or whatever on file, just in case you miss a payment, they can charge the card. And this guy's off the grid. You know, he doesn't have that. And they're saying he can't use the club. And he only uses the club to come shower and clean himself up. He pays for a membership to do that. He doesn't even work out. I think he gets plenty of a workout as it is, just doing what he does. I mean, can you imagine that? Think about that for a second, guys. You work a hard labor job, laying down marble and tile, right? You're hauling it around all day. You're doing all kinds of just hardcore bust ass blue collar work. And then what you do with the rest of your evening is you go to a lumber yard, pick up lumber, bicycle it from it on a trailer to the other side of to the end of the county, and then start building your own cabin. Think about that. And then somebody's going to go and tell him that all that was for nothing. And yet his attitude's real good, at least on the surface. And I got to tell this guy that he can't use the club. And I asked my GM, and I love working for who I work for, man. These guys, most of the people above me are ex-military. They're very big on chain of command, but they're good people. And they're and the thing is the reason why I bring up that they're ex-military is because they have that sense of leadership. Like they're leaders. They're not bosses. They're leaders. Like my GM will he'll take it for you. You know, if you mess up, he'll take it for you. Overtime, if you get overtime, it's a policy that it comes out of his pocket. You know, and a lot of places have that. The idea is so that people don't get overtime. He's got to manage labor. That's his job, to manage labor. I'm no stranger to that. But the fact that he's such a strong leader makes me go, man, I got to be careful that I don't hit overtime, but I want to work every single hour that I'm scheduled. And this man, a couple nights go by and he comes in tonight of all nights. He comes in tonight and he's inebriated. He's hammered drunk. I've never seen him like this. And he's really nice. He wasn't obnoxious. It's just that anybody, when you're sober and somebody else is drunk and you're trying to explain a situation like, hey man, I can't let you use the club unless you bring up new billing. But my boss, I told him about you. I explained my situation to you. And he said, between you and me, let him use the club tonight because we can't call him. You know, he's off the grid. So I'm like, I just don't want to catch him off guard. He hauls his way all the way over on his bike. And then I got to send him on his way, you know, because he came here for nothing. Let me just let him use the club this one time, and I'll make sure that he knows that he can't come back and use it until he updates that credit card info. And he's like, all right, just this once. Just this once. I get it. You know, when I explained the story to this guy, my boss gained a certain respect for him, as he should, as anybody should when they hear about this guy. And so, but he shows up tonight and he's wasted, you know, and he's not mad. He's not being obnoxious, but he's being a little difficult because he just doesn't understand. He's got this mindset of, I don't want to answer to anybody. And, you know, you're making me do it. If I can't use the club unless I go out and get a card and put it on file, which I just don't feel comfortable doing for his own, whatever paranoid reasons, you know, I don't know. But you know, I get where he's coming from, but the thing is, it's a private club. It's a private business, and we have our policies. And if it's coming from my boss's 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 boss, you know, what are we going to do? So, you know, and it's our job to enforce company policy. It just is. So I got to tell this guy this, and he's eventually, after talking in circles with him a little bit, you know, he's like, dude, Will, I love you, man. You know, we're good. Don't worry, man. We're good. I'll do what I got to do, whatever. So he goes into the locker room, says, I'm going to go take a shower. He gives me that smile of his, you know, and he's just a really, really cool, chill guy. And, but then then, you know, all this time goes by. I go to shut everything off, and I'm like, I never saw this guy leave, you know, and I remembered that he'd been drinking. And so I end up going into the locker room, and what do I see, man? I see my man passed out on the floor of the locker room, like head under the bench where you sit on to change clothes next to the lockers. And, you know, and he's not waking up. Like, I'm just, you know, he's snoring, you know, he's asleep, but he's just not budging. And then I see a bottle of Jaeger like that with about yay much in it. And, you know, I'm like, shit, you know, I grabbed the bottle, I put it in this bag because I don't want the janitorial service that we use to see it and then say something. And, you know, the guy, I mean, I think the guy earns, in my opinion, he earned a pass to, you know, he didn't cause any harm. He didn't hurt anybody. He didn't damage anything. So I figured he, you know, everything this guy's been through, he earned a pass. So I hid the Jaeger in his bag and just, you know, and then, but I went and got a pitcher and filled it up with water because this dude wasn't waking up and I was about to go dump it on his face. But luckily when I came back with the pitcher, I tried again and he woke up. So he actually got out and I didn't have to throw a pitcher of water on this dude's face who I actually like and respect, which is cool. But he, you know, it took a minute. You know, it could have been a lot worse than it was dealing with somebody that drunk. You know, it took a minute to get him up and walk him straight to the door and just be like, dude, we're locking up. You gotta go. And so, you know, but it really broke my heart. You know, it broke my heart to see him like that because I think he was just like, you know what, man, fuck all of this. I'm just going to get a bottle and I'm just going to, you know, just cut loose for the night. You know, and I think that's all he had in mind. You know, I think we've all been there, man. If we all don't, you know, and he never got into the shower, TCH, and he wasn't wearing a mask when he was laying there, you know, I mean, he had a bandana on when he came in, and I feel bad because like I talked my boss into letting me, like, I vouched for the guy, so half of me feels like fuck, like I vouched for the guy to my boss, and then he pulls that shit. So because if they find out about that, that's not going to make me look good. It's not going to, I don't think I'm going to get in trouble over it because I had no control over the fact that this guy was, drinking. I mean, I didn't actually realize that he was drunk until I saw him passed out. Like, it made sense to me that he was drunk after having the conversation with him. But, I didn't smell it on him or anything. But then when I saw him laying there and I saw the bottle, I was like, that makes sense. So, and I just felt so bad. I felt so bad for him. And that's just how I topped off the night. So tonight was, like I said, it was a challenging night, but it wasn't a bad night necessarily, but we're going to talk about something. We're going to talk about something tonight that, Catherine Summers, I heard about that. I think he's just overwhelmed with a lot of stuff right now. I mean, I got opinions on that, but not a lot because I haven't really been paying attention to what's been going on. I've been listening to some of his videos. And so, but I hope Save Robbie gets through this because I don't believe that he had anything to do with what was going on. I think he's just as much, a victim of bullying as Mommy Ramblings. Not to say that he's, that it's just as bad because, Mommy Ramblings, Carolyn lost a son, and she's dealing with that on top of dealing with idiots on YouTube giving her a hard time. And I don't think that Robbie contributed to this. At least there's nothing about his character that indicates that to me. So I can imagine him feeling kind of overwhelmed with people giving him a hard time. And then Robbie gets a lot of shit just for being just a silly gay guy. He gets a lot of shit for it, and it's stupid because he's actually a really smart guy and he's actually a really, really good hearted person. And he's really, he's got a lot of wisdom. He's been through a lot, and he tries to share the wisdom that he's obtained from his experiences with other people. And then people they give him a hard time just because he's gay. So that's, that bothers me, because he's got a past, but I wish Robbie the best. I've been there where you just feel like you just got to take some time and just got to, be there for you, collect yourself, kind of escape and be like, whoa, wait a minute, because I'm sure he's getting bombarded with all kinds of shit from all kinds of people, and it's just not cool. Yeah, Caleb said it. Yeah, very well put, Caleb. And I trust Caleb actually did this. Caleb says he researched the specific accusation Save Robbie was accused of and found that it was not true, which I have no doubt in my mind. But the bandwagon doesn't care. And that's the thing. If people see a reason to get on some narrative and get on some bandwagon and spin that and it just sucks. And there's nothing Robbie can really do about it. And probably the best thing for him to do is just take some time for himself, come back strong with some good content, ignore it, rise above it. And, I'll be there. I'll be there for him. I'm proud to call Robbie a friend of mine. So moving on from that, today I came across this story and in Port of Seattle, or there is a police officer, and this police officer has a decides to shoot an Instagram video, and he posts his Instagram video, and his Instagram video goes viral, and there's absolutely no question in my mind as to why this video went viral. I'm sorry, excuse me, man, that coffee. Woo. There's absolutely no question in my mind as to why that video went viral, and he got pressure from the chief of police to take down the video, and he refused, and he is currently suspended with pay. And they're saying that the reason why he's suspended is because he shot this video in uniform, and that's against policy, which it probably is. But it's funny when a company, anybody here who has a job knows that when a company has an employee that they don't like and they want to punish, but they just don't like what they're doing, and they know that they can't punish them for what they're doing, they're going to catch them with something like, say you're in the service industry, right? You could send somebody home. Now they could just be a loudmouth. They're not saying anything offensive, and they're just getting on everybody's nerves, right? They're just, as Cubans put it, pesado. Just this dude is totally pesado, right? And they can't fire him because he's not really breaking any rules. But the second that homeboy walks in without a name tag on his shirt, well, that's a breach of image standards. So they can send you home for that, right? So that's basically what they did here. They basically just, oh well, he doesn't have he's filming a video, and it's controversial, and he's wearing a uniform, and he's not supposed to wear a uniform, blah 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 blah, blah. Whatever, technicalities, bullshit. But this man posted this video, and mind you, what he's talking about has not happened yet. But I commend this man for nipping it in the bud and putting his job and his well-being and his livelihood at risk, his life even at risk, by putting out this video, making this video and putting it out, nipping it in the bud before it becomes an issue. The purpose of it was to inspire his fellow brothers of the badge, fellow brothers and sisters of the badge. And I admire this man for it. So, I say somebody get this man a fucking cape, because he's a hero. And we're going to watch that video. We're going to break it down, guys. You know how we do here at The Glare. So let me pull that up. This man's name is Greg Anderson. Okay, here we go.
As a police officer, I'm compelled to make this video. I've been in law enforcement for 10 years, and I'm speaking to my peers, other fellow officers, people in any kind of law enforcement position. I've seen officers nationwide enforcing tyrannical orders against the people, and I'm hoping it's a minority of officers, but I'm not sure anymore, because every time I turn on the television, every time I look to the internet, I'm seeing people arrested or cited for going to church, for traveling on the roadways, for going surfing, opening their businesses, going to the park with their families, or doing nails out of their own house, using their own house as a place of business, and having undercover agents go there and arrest them and charge them with with what? With a crime? I don't.
Undercover agents, people. Undercover agents. Imagine that. Imagine living in the United States of America and an undercover agent comes into your house because you're providing a service. Your shop closed down. You do nails for people. You cut hair for people. And yet people need haircuts. So what you do, you say, hey, come over to my house and I'll cut your hair or I'll do your nails. Right? And then an undercover agent comes into your house and busts you, cites you, or arrests you for earning an honest living in your own home. Imagine that. Imagine living in a country where that happens. Because guess what, people? You're living in a country where that's about to happen. That is absolutely 100% true. But this guy making this video, this is his attempt to do his part to stop that. This is a man who understands what and remembers with all his heart and soul why he went out and became a police officer. This man is the true embodiment of protect and serve. This man knows that a police officer is a civil servant. A police officer works for us. Just like your chief of police, just like your mayor, just like your city councilman, just like your alderman, just like your governor, and just like your president of the United States, just like your president, a civil servant works for the people. This guy has not forgotten that. This guy's a soldier.
I don't know what crime people are committing by doing nails in their own house, but we're seeing this more and more and more. And we need to start looking at ourselves as officers and thinking, is what I'm doing right? Now, I want to remind you that regardless of where you stand on the coronavirus, we don't have the authority to do those things to people just because a mayor or a governor tells you otherwise. I don't care if it's your sergeant or your chief of police. We don't get to violate people's constitutional rights because somebody in our chain of command tells us otherwise. It's not how.
We do not get to violate people's constitutional rights. And that's absolutely right. His job is to defend our constitutional rights. That's his job. He hasn't forgotten that. And that's the thing is there's been a lot of talk, people. There's been a lot of talk over the years, a lot of questions as to what are the police there for? You see a lot of videos of police officers abusing their power. And you see a lot of people being very, very upset. What's up, Mignon? You see a lot of people getting very, very upset. People saying, oh, you know, cops aren't here to protect us. Isn't that what the cops are supposed to do? They're supposed to protect us. They're supposed to protect us. This is the first time I'm seeing a police officer really speak out. And who he's speaking out to are fellow police officers around the country. That's what he's doing. He's not speaking to citizens. He's speaking to police officers. He's saying, people, guys, we're losing perspective here. We're missing the point. You know, we've got to be able to have enough fortitude to realize and act when someone tells us something that is unconstitutional and tells us to execute something that is unconstitutional, we have to remember why we became police officers. We have to remember why we swore an oath and what we swore an oath to.
How this country works. Those are de facto arrests. You know, we're violating people's rights and taking money from them, or even worse, arresting them and depriving them of their freedom when they are exercising their constitutional rights. So let's talk about that.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
Let's read something right here off of the Declaration of Independence. All men are created equal. Among these, we have the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their power from the consent of the governed, meaning our power and any government official's power is derived from the people. Okay? We don't hold.
Plain and simple. Plain and simple. It's derived from the people. Basically saying what I just said. They work for us. We, the people. They work for us. Their job is to protect us and our rights and our way of life. What is this country if we don't have these basic human rights? If we don't have our liberties? That's un-American, man. To cite someone, to write them a ticket or arrest them for trying to make an honest living? I don't give a shit about how anybody feels about quarantine or whatever. But the bottom line is, me personally, I'm looking at the bigger picture here. When you look at all the stats, even the mainstream numbers and the mainstream media, those numbers, those aren't big enough to me for me to give up my personal constitutional rights as an American. They're just not. They're just not. I mean, you're not going to keep me under control with fear like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, think about it, man. I listened to another YouTube creator earlier, and this person was saying how when it comes to COVID-19 and we're being around each other, well, we're playing Russian roulette, right? Well, I think that's a shitty analogy. I don't think it applies. Because all right, think about it, man. If we're playing Russian, if we're playing Russian roulette, if COVID-19 and being around other people is playing Russian roulette with one bullet in one chamber and you're spinning it, well, getting in your car and driving to work every day, that's with 2 or 3 bullets in the chambers. It's a bigger risk. The numbers don't lie. Whether they be the mainstream numbers or the independent numbers, but neither one of them add up to the risks of God knows how many other ways you can die. So right now, everybody's scared shitless for what? Because the thing is in the state of Washington, guys, in the state of Washington, where this man works, where this man serves and protects, the curve is flattened. The curve flattened weeks ago. The curve flattened weeks ago. Why haven't their liberties come back? Why don't people have the choice of whether or not they want to take that very, very minimal risk? That 0.3%. Dude, you walk out of your house every day. There's more than a 0.3% of you being killed. There's got to be. I mean, so what are we scared of, people? What are we scared of? Because I'm telling you what we should be scared of. We should be scared of exactly what he's talking about. And we should be scared of not having jobs coming up. We should be scared of businesses that pump blood through the economy no longer being able to do that. And then our economy tanking. And then guess what? People can't feed their families. People end up committing suicide. We talked about how domestic violence is already an issue. Domestic violence is up because of these freaking quarantines. Child abuse. They're letting child molesters out of jail. They're letting child molesters, convicted child molesters, out of jail because of COVID-19 in the jails. Are you fucking kidding me right now? So, and I've been saying this, man. I've been saying this, but we're to this point now. We're to this point. People are sick and tired of this. People are sick and tired of this. And what's happening is people are starting to see where it's going. This guy is seeing where it's going. And he is trying to lead awareness. He's trying to lead a pattern of awareness and create a pattern of awareness to other police officers like, hey, guys, be careful. Be careful. Are you doing what you're ethically supposed to be doing? Just because you're following orders doesn't mean it's the right thing to do. You fight for people's rights. You don't fight for the people who make the laws. You fight for the people. And it's not an easy issue at all, Angelina ATF. You're absolutely right. It's not an easy issue, but it's to the point now where we're winning. We're winning the fight against coronavirus. So it's time to move on and start working on saving the lifeblood of this country, which, whether you like it or not, is economic. It just is. What's up, Dee Dee Duggan?
Power over our citizens. It's contradictory to everything that our country stands for. And this is what I'm seeing. First Amendment rights, telling people they can't go to church, freedom of religion. Okay. Telling people they can't protest, freedom of assembly. Fourth Amendment violations, illegal traffic stops to check for papers. What are you, the Gestapo? Is this 1930s Nazi Germany? You don't get to stop people unless you have reasonable suspicion or probable cause that they have committed a crime.
And
I know people that have personally been stopped saying, we want to see papers showing that you're essential.
Now, I don't know about y'all, but it's starting to sound to me like the word essential is a made-up word. It's a made-up word designed to separate and keep us under control. Now, that sounds paranoid, right? But I mean, is it paranoid when all these things are literally happening all around you? You're seeing it happen? Is it paranoid when it's right in front of your eyes? Now, things are about to pop off, people. I don't know if you've been watching the news. Besides, liberal media, and I'm not a conservative. I'm not. But there's something going on with liberal media, people. There's something going on with it. And it's about to pop off because they're not talking about something that is very, 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 very important. Something's happening, guys. something's happening. Something's happening where the Trump administration there was basically a coup attempted on the Trump administration. Yeah. And there's proof of it now. And let me tell you something, people. A coup, it's un-American. That doesn't happen here. That shit is not okay. We vote our leaders in. That's what we do. Our leaders are chosen by the people. So I'm not left, right, but I am a patriot. I do love this country, and I do love my freedoms. And I'll speak up on my freedoms, and I'll fight for my freedoms, and I'll die for my freedoms. I'll die for your freedoms. And this man right here is speaking up and risking his life. And he's showing some real leadership because he's talking to his fellow police officers of the badge all over the country, no matter what. If you wear a badge and you call yourself a law enforcement officer, you collect a check, you carry a gun and a badge, a set of cuffs, well, then you're a servant of the people. And you're a defender of our constitutional rights. And I commend you, and I'm grateful for you. But this man is showing leadership. And you shouldn't be afraid of losing your job.
That is not how our job works. Okay? What really has been pissing me off lately is the fact that these officers that are going out here and enforcing these tyrannical orders, what they're doing is they're making my job and my safety, or they're putting my job and my safety at risk. Because what you're doing is you're widening the gap between public trust and law enforcement officers.
Now pay attention to what he's talking about now. This is extremely important because this goes into what I was discussing earlier. People not trusting the police. People looking at the police like they're enemies, like, oh my God. Now, rightfully so, if you're a criminal, you should absolutely be afraid of the police. Rightfully so. Most definitely. But not if you are a law-abiding American citizen trying to make an honest living. By no means should you be afraid of the police. Because that, my friends, that's when you live in a dictatorship. America's not a dictatorship.
And what that's going to do is it's going to, I mean, look what's happened to law enforcement in the last 10 years. Less and less public trust. And more often than not, that is a result of isolated incidents that get blown out of proportion. They're not isolated anymore. They're happening every single day. And the thing that I want you guys to realize is that our power that we hold as law enforcement officers is nothing more than a facade. It's a badge and a gun. And people, you don't realize, if you haven't lived in anarchy, if you haven't seen combat, things can be stripped from people in a heartbeat. And that's what I'm afraid of. I'm afraid that these actions are going to wake a sleeping giant, i.e. the American people, okay? They are going to be put in a position where they won't have their rights trampled anymore.
Believe that shit. Believe that shit right there. Because I'll be damned. I'll be damned if I'm going to live in the United States of America and not be American. Type of one, if you get what I'm saying.
And us as law enforcement officers, we'll have our ability to enforce the law stripped from us in about 10 minutes. Okay. I don't. I think what is going to happen if this continues is we're going to see bloodshed in the streets. Okay. I don't want to see bloodshed in the streets on either side of this coin. I don't want to see fellow officers get injured or killed. And I certainly don't want to see citizens get injured or killed. And I promise you, most of you out there doing these tyrannical acts against our citizens, you're not ready for combat. You're not mentally or physically ready for combat in the first place. I promise.
That guy right there, dude. I love that. I love that. This guy's a veteran. This guy's a veteran and did and served in Iraq. And here he is saying, if you're one of these police officers who's just sheep, who's going to follow orders just to follow orders, you're not ready for combat. You're not ready for the kind of combat that's going to come from people rising up to defend their basic human rights. I mean, what do you have if you don't have your own freedom, dude? What do you have? You got nothing. I mean, dude, do you all remember Braveheart, right? That speech? I mean, I get chills whenever I watch Braveheart and I hear William Wallace say, you know, what will you do without freedom? When you're lying in your beds and you're old and you had a chance. I think that's what this guy's going through right now. He's like, I got a chance right now to speak up. Nobody else is doing it. I'm probably going to lose my job over it, but it's got to be said. It's got to be said. Hey, Ann, welcome. It's good to have you. This is a guy who just said, hey, this has got to be said. Nobody else is saying it, and I'm probably going to lose my job over it. Who knows what else? Who knows what else? But I mean, at the end of the day, man, what do we got? If we're not, I mean, to me, I don't understand why this doesn't scare the shit out of everyone. The idea of living in America that's no longer America, that the fabric of what makes this country what it is deteriorating. We have to maintain this, people. This is very important. I don't understand why this isn't the biggest priority for everyone.
You don't want to go through that, and I hope I never have to go through that again. You know, you don't get to just say, well, I'm doing this because I was told to do so, or I'm following orders, or I need to keep this job. Guess what? I need to keep this job more than anybody. I have 3 young children. I have 2 houses. Like, I have the same sob story that the rest of you guys have. But my personal choices and my living arrangements, no matter what they are, don't allow me to trample on people's rights.
Damn right.
And I don't understand why that concept is so hard for people to understand.
Exactly.
You need to stand up for what's right. You need to, if you're part of a department or an agency that is asking people or asking their officers or their deputies to impose on people's rights and infringe on their freedoms, you need to step up and say, no, that's not me. That's not what I signed up for, and that's going against my oath. And if that costs you your job, so be it.
So be it.
At least you'll be able to look at yourself in the mirror at night. I've already expressed this to my department. And luckily for me, I come from a department that I feel like my chain of command shares my view, but I don't care what department you're part of or what your chain of command thinks. You don't get to trample on people's liberty. And so, you know, as a special operations veteran, I've fought on the streets of Iraq under the U.S. government's guise of freedom. And I'm telling you what, the American people are going to be, you are going to wake a sleeping giant, and they are going to fight 10 times harder for their freedom on their soil than anything you've ever seen before. And if that's something you're willing to face, then keep trampling on people's rights. But I promise you, the American spirit of defiance is going to rise again, and it's going to be a big problem for our country. So I'll leave you with this, something that I learned as an E-nothing in the Army. No matter what situation you're put in, if you look inside yourself and ask yourself one question, am I doing the right thing? You ask yourself that, you know the answer. And no amount of money or no order or law or anything should be able to make you go against doing the right thing. So I'm imploring officers to look inside themselves and ask themselves, is this what I want to be doing to my citizens? And I think the answer is clear. And if we all stand up together, guess what? It'll be a non-issue, no factor, because people in law enforcement will be united like we should be.
I think that was beautifully said. Officer Anderson, my hat's off to you. And we appreciate your service. And I'm, somebody like that comes along, people. Somebody like that comes along and they remind you of how great it is to be an American. We've forgotten that. I don't understand these people that, and I'm not trying to get all political here, but I mean, I see people just demanding more government, demanding more restrictions, demanding more, and they don't understand. They're not, and this is the thing, is it's not that oh, please take away my freedoms. That's not what they're saying, but they're saying that without realizing it. Because the more government you have and the more restrictions you have, the more people, the more control someone is going to have over you. I like the idea of having control over myself. I like the idea of having control over my life. That's the reason why I respected Rodney so much. I still do. Despite what happened tonight. This is a guy that's like, you know what? I got to start all over. But that's life. But this is a guy who wanted to live on his own terms. This guy is hell-bent on living life on his own terms. And he's willing to work as hard as he has to for it. He's willing to break his back and blister his hands to do it. How do you not respect that? So although Rodney put my job at risk tonight, I think that he earned a little steam to let off. I think he earned that. What's up, Audra? Oh, I think he earned that, man. And so, he gets a pass with me tonight for sure. Because not only is that something that you should respect. What's up, Seraphin? That not only is that something that we should respect, but it's an example to follow to a certain degree. This guy's saying, I'm not buying into the illusion that I need someone to answer to. I don't need that at all. I can just, fuck a landlord. Why am I paying rent? I can build my own place. I can sacrifice luxuries like plumbing. I don't need it. Now probably if his place got inspected, somebody would be like, nah, you got to get plumbing in here because he's not going to pass, like you got to pass codes or whatever. I don't really know how that works, but I'm assuming, somebody comes around and inspects that thing, but the fact is this guy was trying to do things on his own, and he's still trying to do things on his own. And I respect that, man. I absolutely respect that. And I love that. Makes me wish that I had the guts to do that. Because here I am on my high horse, like, you know what? I don't even pay for a phone because I don't need a phone. I've got a phone, but as long as I'm under Wi-Fi, well, I could just message people through Facebook. I don't need to call people on the telephone, and I'm sitting here going, I'm sacrificing luxuries, blah, blah, blah. But I'm sitting here on a laptop looking into a fucking webcam on YouTube. And I make money off of it. One of these days I'll get that PIN number from Google and I'll be able to actually collect the money. But nevertheless, I'm sitting here and I find these little ways to be able to make my life a little bit easier and enjoy myself, and here I am thinking I'm sacrificing all these things because I don't drive a car, blah, blah, blah. That's crazy. I don't need a car because, it's payments, who needs that? I can work a job where I make almost minimum wage and be happy with what I can buy off of it with it, and that's fine with me. And I'm okay with that. But here I am acting like, oh, I'm sacrificing so much. And then you got a guy like this hauling lumber on a bicycle to the edge of the county after he lays down marble and tile all day long and builds his dwelling place just so he can say that it's his own castle by his own standards. To me, that's a king. A king creates their own kingdom. That's a king. That's royalty. Royalty deserves respect. How many of us can say that? How many people in chat right now can say that they've done that? Because one way or the other, you still got to answer to somebody. Even if you buy your own house, right? You got a mortgage, you got to answer to the bank, right? This guy's like, fuck all that. I'm not answering to no bank. I'm not answering to anybody but me. And I'm willing to sacrifice things that you consider necessities, but I consider luxuries. And I'm willing to sacrifice those things. To me, that's mad respect, man. I got nothing but respect for people like that. And this guy right here, this police officer, this servant of the people, and I say that with the utmost respect because this is how he sees himself, and I respect him very much for that. I respect Officer Anderson very, very much for that. I respect him for realizing that he is a servant of the people. Because that's a sacrifice that someone's making. To make that decision and take an oath and say, no matter what happens, no matter what I do, I am going to serve the people. And I am going to protect their interests. I'm going to protect their liberties. I'm not here to take away their liberties. I'm here to protect their liberties. And to have the guts to make this video and post it so that to remind other police officers the same thing takes guts. That's a soldier and that's a leader. And I have not watched his I Don't Have a Job video. Let's try to look that up. Give me 1 second here, guys. I'm going to try to find that real quick. Let's see. I'm not seeing him. I'm not seeing a video about him getting fired. Let's look him up here real quick. All right. Yeah, I mean, I'm seeing let's see. Let's see what he says here. Hey, what's up, Instagram? So, I mean, and that's the thing. When you do something like this and your job is in jeopardy, people, I think the smartest thing to do is just to keep pumping out videos, man. I think the smartest thing to do is to stay in the public eye as much as possible, because the more injustice that you expose, the less likely you're going to become subject to it. The less likely that the more likely they're going to be afraid to punish you, because it's just going to make them look bad. It's going to be a bad PR incident for them, but this guy basically, I mean, you can't punish a guy for speaking up, saying that my job as a police officer is to protect people's liberties. How are you going to punish a guy for that? Right? That just looks bad. That looks real bad. So let's see what he has to say here, guys, because I have not seen this yet.
Hey, what's up, Instagram? Just want to make a quick video and touch base with everyone and say that the amount of outreach and support and emails, texts, calls, it's been incredible. The overwhelming majority of it has been all positive, so that's pretty cool. One thing that I think needs to be said, and I wanted to share that ASAP, is that I got a lot of people in my corner right now, and it's greatly appreciated. And if you're compelled to voice your displeasure to the Port of Seattle, obviously that's your prerogative, and whatever you think makes the most sense, go ahead and do that. But with that said, I'd like to remind everybody that the dispatch center that responds to emergency calls has been receiving, I've heard different numbers, but they've been receiving like 100 calls an hour with people.
Let's talk about that for a second. Listen, I want to make something abundantly clear, people. 911 is for emergencies. The fact that I got to sit here and say this, it blows my mind. 911 is for emergencies. You don't call 911 over shit like this. You know what I'm saying? Like you Google the police station's phone number and then you call, you leave a message, whatever. But you do not call 911 over this, because what you're doing is you're flooding the 911 dispatch when someone who actually has an emergency needs to be getting through to report their emergency. So you're putting lives at risk when you're calling 911 over this shit. I realize it's great that people have a strong opinion on this, and people are wanting to speak to on this man's behalf and defend him, and that's great. But you don't do it with 911, people. Come on.
What's going on with my situation. So regardless if you agree with me or you disagree with me or them, and however you view the situation, I just want to remind people that a 911 dispatch center is responding to emergency calls. So they've been so plugged up lately that they're afraid that it could impede responding to a crisis or something,
Yeah.
something in progress or someone in need of medical attention. So I would just say, I want you guys to think about that. If someone's in cardiac arrest and there's 15 calls holding, I would hate for my situation and people that are rallying behind me and trying to support what I'm going through to ever cause someone else harm or, potentially get hurt or anything negative that could occur from police officers having a delayed response to a 911 call. So with that in mind, again, I'm overwhelmed with the support. It's been great. And, if you want to voice your displeasure, I would just ask you to find a different avenue than the actual 911 dispatch center. Cool, guys. Thanks so much. And take
All right. Yeah. I mean, he didn't. Let's see what this one says.
Hey, what's up, guys? So I just kind of wanted to take a couple minutes, get everybody caught up to speed on what's going on in my life. I've been getting a lot of questions and figured I'd just make a second video and answer some of the things that I've been receiving. I first wanted to say I'm humbled by the response that my video got. It's been viewed millions and millions of times. People all over the country have been calling me, texting me, sending me emails, comments, and the overwhelming majority of it has been positive. And so I think that's pretty cool because my whole thought process on making that video was trying to bridge the gap between law enforcement and the public. And I've seen both sides.
That's such a great way to put that too. He didn't say I'm trying to make my fellow officers aware and remind them. And he wasn't talking down in any way. He wasn't being condescending in any way. He was simply, the way he worded that was perfect. He's trying to bridge the gap between civilians and officers. He's trying to make sure that police officers and us are, we trust them. We trust them to protect us and to protect our liberties and our freedoms. And he doesn't want to lose that. This is a guy who really, really values what he does. He doesn't see himself in a position of power. He sees himself in a position of service. And I have so much respect for that.
Open arms, willing to embrace that. And I think that's a step in the right direction. So that's pretty cool. One thing that I've seen come up over and over in the comments, and I've been in emails sent to me, is, are you going to get in trouble? What happened to you? Or is there any discipline or any discipline taking place? And so I figured I'd take a chance and give you a little synopsis of the last 3 days of my life after posting that video. So I posted the video on Tuesday, was it May 5th? And it took it took a day or two before it really started getting a lot of traction. But the next morning when I woke up on the 6th, I think it was only at a few thousand views. And I had received a message from my command saying, wow, Greg, what a powerful message. We agree with that 100%. Well done. And that was actually a relief for me because I was like, great. I know that it's risky putting something out like that, but I felt like it was so grounded in integrity and liberty that no one would have an issue with it. So that was a relief. And then fast forward 3 hours later, I get another phone call from my command and it said, hey, Greg, the video's up to 400,000 views. It's time to pull the plug on this thing. And I immediately, it kind of caught me off guard because I said, why would we want to pull the plug on something that was already acknowledged as a good and powerful message?
Now, this is a little off subject, but take a look at this guy's ears, right? He has something known as cauliflower ear. And that is very common amongst people who do MMA, specifically wrestling. And I believe he has a jujitsu studio, I think mentioned in the video that the news clip that I played at the start of this live stream. So this guy's a warrior, man. And it's really comforting when someone has, someone has this natural instinct to be protective. It's very, very comforting to know that somebody of his skill set has this natural instinct uh to be protective. um
One law enforcement officer, two others. And I said, yeah, that doesn't really make sense to me. I think maybe we should embrace this message and we should share this with other officers. And he said, listen, it's not up to me. I have been directed to tell you to take the video down. And I need to know if you're going to take the video down. And I said, no, I can't take the video down.
Damn right.
Because if you listen to my first video, the whole message that I was trying to
It
share
would
with
contradict
people
the whole
and warn
message.
them
Yeah.
is if you believe in something in your heart, you have to stand by that conviction, even if it costs you everything. And like I said last time, I have 3 little kids. I have this house. I have another house. I cannot afford to lose my job. But after putting that message out there and sharing that with America, and it was so well received, I can't then just say, even though that's what I believe, I'm going to take a step back. I'm going to retract my words, and I'm going to allow my command to prevent me from sharing my heart and my truth. And I said, so with that in mind, sir, I can't take the video down. And, I didn't know where this was going to go. And I immediately started thinking about, what are they going to try and gig me on? What did I do wrong? What policy did I violate? And I got called back a couple hours later. And by this time, it was skyrocketing. Everyone in the agency was seeing it. Cops from when I was an officer down in Los Angeles, they were contacting me. I got a call and it said, listen, the video needs to be taken down right now, and you need to accept a letter of reprimand. Or we're going to take a very different approach to this if you say no again.
Now, that's funny to me. That's funny to me because what can they do at this point, right? So when they say we're going to take a very different approach, I mean, that indicates to me that they didn't even have anything in mind. They were bluffing. They were like, you're going to take a letter of reprimand and you're going to take the video down. But these videos are his leverage. These videos are what's keeping him in the public eye and making, like, he's got everybody's support. Everybody except his superior officers, his immediate superiors. He has everyone's support but them. So, I mean, to me, this is leverage, right? What he's doing is just too important at this point. So if this guy gets fired, and if we share these videos on our social media, people, if we show this guy support by helping this guy's video get spread around and make people aware of his message and what he's trying to do, that's going to it's going to reinforce his chances of being praised for this instead of reprimanded. And I think right now he's earned that at the very least from the rest of us, because he did something very, very bold here, very, very brave. This was a very brave thing of him to put himself out there like this. And the least we could do is share his message.
Well, I'd already put myself on that hill, and I had to be willing to die on that hill. They said they determined the video was a violation of policy, and that if I wouldn't take it down, that allegations would be made against me, and so on and so on. And so,
what allegations?
I told them, no, I'm not going to take it down. You do what you need to do. But the principle of it is rooted in truth, and it was a positive message that was received by millions and millions of people. If you want me to take it down, I have to I have to respectfully refuse. And it was interesting because they kept citing different policies, you know, like, oh, it was the social media policy, or some of your equipment may have been identifiable. And that kind of seemed like a moot point to me.
See, but
and it was
this is
strange because
this is beyond policy now. This is now political. Okay? This is beyond policy. Now policy in this particular instance has to be reconsidered. There's no choice. Policy has to be reconsidered because nobody's going to stand for this guy getting fired. People are going to protest. I mean, as serious as this is, because this is the only guy that's spoken up, to my knowledge anyway. This is the only guy that's spoken up about this. Everybody else is thinking it, but afraid to say something about it. So this guy just started a movement leading people to not be afraid to just speak up and say, wait a minute, no. You're not gonna come into my house and tell me that I can't make an honest living. So that's a big thing, people. That's a big thing. And here we got this guy right here. If he goes and he takes the video down, if he folds, well, then he risks his message not having nearly the impact that it originally had. So this guy's sticking to his guns because he realizes how important the message he is, how important the message that he's sending actually is. So the least we can do is support him.
why was the message okay at 5 a.m. and then 3 hours later, there was a problem with it? And so I was later contacted by the chief of police. He's someone that I have great respect for. He's a good man to work for. And he's the one that shot me straight. And he said, Greg, if you openly defy your governor, you can't be a police officer in the state of Washington. And I told him, I said, you know what? I can respect that. And if I were in your office, I would shake your hand, respectfully disagree, and say, maybe I'm not meant to be a police officer in the state of Washington then. And here's my thoughts on that, okay? You have to do your research. You have to figure out what your true north is, what your truth is, and where you stand on issues. For me personally, I believe that the Constitution supersedes all other documents, all other laws. There's case law supporting that. If you look at Marbury versus Madison, 1803, it says any future laws created that are repugnant, meaning in conflict with the Constitution, are null and void.
I love
So
that.
I look at how I feel comfortable enforcing the law, and I see people exercising constitutional rights. It doesn't matter if there's different executive orders, requests from mayors, requests from governors. To me,
This guy's saying, I don't give a fuck what anyone says. Doesn't matter who you are. Even if you're the president, I don't give a fuck. What I follow is the Constitution. What I follow is the very, very one document that makes me an American and makes the people, my neighbors, Americans. Nobody's going to come along and supersede that. That can't be done. That can't be done, because if you do that, then that becomes technically un-American. This guy is a soldier for this country.
Constitution supersedes that, and I'm going to stand with the people. Well, unfortunately, higher up in all agencies, there's a political game being played. And now I am on a administrative leave status pending termination. I was told by both the agency and the union that I was asked to take it down, and I refused. So that's refusing a direct order. It's an insubordination charge.
That's so messed up. The union doesn't even have his back. The union doesn't even have this guy's back. As a blue collar American civil servant, He's not even protected by his union.
And it will result in me ultimately being let go from the agency. And I said, you know what? If that's what you guys have to do, if that video is so bad that you want to take my career from me and you want to leave my, like potentially take my ability away to provide for my family because of that video, do it. Because I'm going to stand by my convictions, just like I said in my last video. So yeah, it's weird, how fast your life can change in a week. It's something that I never thought would happen. I never thought that I would make a video that would resonate with millions of people. But my head is held high. I'm not intimidated or upset by how this played out. Like I said in my last video, man, I fought in the streets of Ramadi during 04 and 05. I came to terms long ago that my convictions, my beliefs may cost me everything up into my life. And even though it's 15 years later and I'm a police officer in Seattle, Washington, that truth still remains for me. So I don't have an option to back down or feel sorry for myself or give in and say, you know what, I got kids and I think I'm just going to take the letter. No, if they want to do me like this for standing up for liberty, they can do that. I'll leave you guys with this. It's on to the new adventure for me. I've been doing different things my whole life, and I'm actually excited, to tell you the truth. If you know of anyone accepting resumes, hit me up.
Oh, thank
'cause
you,
I'm hoping
Copper
to get in the near
Star.
future. But I've always wanted to
That's
circumnavigate
awesome.
the globe on a sailboat. So maybe it's time to chase that dream. Anyways, I appreciate all the support, guys. Take care.
There you have it, guys. Officer Greg Anderson. And yes, Mignon, I completely agree with you. He is amazing. And like I said, I think that the least that we can do, this guy's putting himself out there, putting himself on the line for our freedoms, for our liberties. The least we can do is support him. So I think if you can, if you have social media, share this man's videos. His name's Greg Anderson. You look him up on YouTube, and Officer Greg Anderson, and just share his videos and send that message out there. If your freedom means something to you, if being an American means something to you, then that right there is a soldier. And he's setting an amazing example because he's, like he said, he's standing by his convictions and he's willing to lose everything. He's willing to lose every single material possession that he has so that you realize how important your freedoms are. And I completely agree with you, Hope Addis. I couldn't have said that better myself. If you believe in the U.S. Constitution, you should believe in and support Officer Gregory Anderson. Absolutely. So, guys, I appreciate you guys logging on. I appreciate the super chats and the PayPal support. It's very, very, very well appreciated. I really appreciate that, guys. I can't tell you enough. And we're going to be talking more about this stuff very soon. This is the kind of stuff that this is the kind of stuff that I feel very, very passionate about. And stories like this inspire me. And it reminds me of how important it is when I have a platform like this. I need to use it responsibly. And I think the least I could do is use my platform in support of men like this. And I'm going to be talking more about this stuff because I think this is a serious problem that we are probably going to face if we don't nip it in the bud before it starts. Because I'll be damned. Somebody's going to come banging on my door telling me what I can and can't say, what I can and can't do when I'm not committing a crime. Because you're not going to tell me, I don't care what laws you have, you're not going to tell me that earning an honest living in the United States of America is a crime. There's no way you're ever going to convince me of that. And the only way that that's going to be accepted is if we, the citizens, the people, accept this. And that's what they're counting on us. They're counting on us to lie down in fear. They're counting on us to be afraid. Now, I'm not sure if that's even the objective. I'm not saying that there's some big conspiracy to take away our freedoms and make this place a dictatorship. What I'm saying is that if we continue to go about these quarantines in the way that they're being enforced by governors in different states, and the police are the local police, the state police, whoever, are somehow punishing you for exercising your constitutional rights, you've got to draw a line there. Now, if you're committing a crime, absolutely, you should be locked up, period. But there's no way you're going to convince me that earning an honest living is committing a crime. There's just no way you're ever going to do that. So if these things are valuable to you, doesn't it make sense that you would fight for them? Doesn't it make sense that you would speak up on it? Doesn't it make sense that you would utilize the power of social media to your advantage to express your opinion and express your thoughts? Keep that in mind, people. Keep that in mind. Guys, I'm going to call it. I appreciate you. I love you. And we're going to be doing this again very, very soon, my friends.